I see live on Facebook on top of the screen now.
Okay, we're probably getting there. There we go. We're getting redirecting to Facebook Live. I think we are live.
We are.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. How is everybody? I am Brooke Crable. Thank you for tuning in. I am going to go ahead and make this smaller. Bear with me as I am kind of navigating through my computer to make sure that I can see everything that I need to do. All right. Hey, everyone, as you are joining us, I just want to give everyone a minute to come on in. I know you probably just got a notification that I'm live. I'm telling you, this is a live that you do not want to miss. I can assure you that whether you are in the market to buy or sell real estate right now, but you're a homeowner or you plan on being a homeowner or you plan on investing in real estate at all, you want to be in on this conversation. This is probably one of the most important conversations that you will hear in real estate or about real estate. And this is your opportunity to speak to the best inspector I know in West Michigan. I've been working with this gentleman for quite some time. And I can guarantee you that he will be able to answer your questions. And if you want them done live, tonight is the night. So stay tuned in. I've got this on my business. I'm going to be sharing this on my business page. I've got this on my personal page. I'm going to be having it on my computer, and I'm going to be going ahead and, whoop, are we there? What are we viewing here? No. Hang on. Sorry, here I am, like trying to navigate a bunch of different, there we go. Sorry, that was probably weird for you guys because that was my computer being glitchy on me. So give me a minute just while I'm doing this. I want to go ahead and share this. I know that I'm on my personal page. I'm going to share this on my business page. So anyone that is interested in real estate can see it on theirs. I'm going to ask James. I know he's got his wife Stephanie in the background. They're going to share it on their pages because this is a conversation that has to get out, that anybody who's interested in any type of real estate needs to tune into. So give me just a couple seconds. I'm going to go ahead and get on my phone. I'm going to share it from my personal page to my business page, and then we're going to get going on this conversation. And I assure you, this is one you do not want to miss. So, share to my page. And if you follow Brooke Marie Collective, we're going to be on Brooke Marie Collective right now too. All right, here we go. All right, guys. So here's the good stuff. We've given you a minute to tune in. I am on my computer. I'm on a webinar. I will be going on my Facebook as well through my phone periodically to make sure that we're answering all of your questions. So if I don't get to your question right away, please bear with me because I will get to them as we get through some discussions. So I want to start off, I have to introduce you guys to this guy. This is James Underwood. He's the owner of Over and Underwood Home Inspections. He has been doing my home inspections for my clients 5 years, if not longer.
Correct.
I know you've been in the business for 8. And I think I'm started working, I don't know. I mean, I may have even been working with you that long, but exclusively like best of the past. What's that?
I said, I believe it's pretty close to that.
It's gotta be. I mean, I think I remember I actually did an inspection for some clients that I remember dearly of mine years and years ago. And at the time, those clients worked with your wife and you two were engaged. And they let me know that they wanted Stephanie's fiance to do the inspection for them. And I was like, okay. So it had to be like right when you were getting in, when we met. Anyway, guys, James is my go-to person. Anything that is related to anything in homes, anything safety, he is the person that I go to. Obviously, as buyers and sellers, you have the option to use whatever home inspector that you want. Most people, though, typically don't know who to use unless you're in the industry. And so since I take my relationships with my clients so personally, I'm very, very picky about who I choose to refer them to. And I have never had a client come back and say to me, why did you pick him? In fact, my phone is blowing up with raving reviews about how thorough James is. He's there to answer questions. He's probably going to kill me for telling you this live, but he will answer his phone and he will walk you through things even after the home inspection. He's just one of those guys that you know when you meet him, you trust him, you know he's got your best interest at heart. He's become a friend of mine. He has a beautiful family, a beautiful wife, Stephanie, 2 daughters, and he's just running a really great business. So, hi, James.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for the introduction, Brooke. That was wonderful. So kind of you.
I think tonight is going to be really powerful for a lot of people. I really think that this is one of the most important discussions that we can have right now. And the reason I really wanted to bring you online and have this conversation is because it's a seller's market. And right now, buyers are doing whatever they can to get a home. You were finding that some of our buyers are, having to go way over list price, give appraisal guarantees, which means they're paying over what the home will appraise for. And in a lot of cases, I am seeing buyers waive inspections. As their realtor, I cannot ever recommend that a buyer do that. And I'm sure you would agree.
100%.
Okay. So I know the reasons why, but coming from me, it's like, yeah, whatever, you sell real estate. You're the expert, okay? I know enough about home inspections to be dangerous, but not enough to be the expert. So
Sure.
I know there's many things in a home inspection that you particularly test for. I can't speak for all of them, but for you, my biggest concern with foregoing a home inspection are the things you can't see.
I agree 100%. And there's
Talk to me about what that would be.
A couple of things that you can't see. Number one, I think is a big factor is radon. Radon is a gas that's odorless. You cannot see it. And the only way you're going to know if it's there is to test for it. Unfortunately, not all the people test for it, but I do recommend it because it is a big safety issue on any home. It actually causes lung cancer if the levels are high enough for our EPA. It's the second leading cause of lung cancer. That's one of them. You also have mold that can be in attics or due in basements in different locations due to moisture issues. You can also have electrical issues that may not be seen until you take the electrical panel off, the cover off the panel and look behind it, where if you're just walking through the house and you open up the panel, it looks normal to you. But once you remove the cover, you can actually see the wires going into the breakers, and that can indicate an issue of overheating or an overload on a circuit, something maybe that wasn't wired correctly that may be working at this time, but down the line, if there was an issue, it could cause a major concern. So there's many things in the home that definitely are something that you want to try and get checked. And even if it's down to something as simple as a smoke detector, those are things that we all take for granted. You see them in every houses, but who's to know, if they're functioning, if they're expired. There's a lot of information that's put out there throughout the course of the inspection that, I get asked all the time, what are you looking for? And I said, I don't know until I see it. But my biggest concern is going to be make sure that there's no safety issues for you. There's things that you can look at, screens or thermal seal in windows or a leaking faucet, carbon monoxide coming from a furnace. That's a big check, do a safety check on that one. And it could be a furnace that's 5 years old. And you might say, well, my furnace is, a couple years old. There's no big issue. Many times, you go through, well, there's a failed component. And there is an issue. And if it wasn't inspected, you would have your family in that home. And the way I look at it And when I do inspections, I want to make sure that it's safe, just as I would do it for my own family.
And you do. You really, I can definitely vouch for that. And that's exactly what I was thinking when I asked the question. And that's why it's so scary for me, because here's my fear representing a buyer. They will probably have to pay over list price right now because we are in an extremely low inventory market. And then a seller loves to have as few contingencies as possible to ensure that the deal is going to go smooth. Wonderful. I get that. I represent both buyers and sellers. So I want to put an asterisk here and say, I'm not saying that one way is right or one way is wrong. It's just the way the world is today. We just happen to be in a seller's market. That's just the way it is. So buyers have to go over and above and create as few contingencies as possible. Okay. So I want to make sure that I'm saying that. Like, I realize that's the market today. And I do have an obligation to get a buyer into a home. My obligation to my buyer, though, and my fiduciary responsibility is also to make sure that they are getting into that home as safely as possible. I can't think of anything worse than having a buyer pay $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 over list price, giving an inspection waiver, and getting into the home to find out, oh my gosh, I have carbon monoxide. I have to buy a new furnace. Oh my gosh, I have high radon levels. I have to have a mitigation system put in. I have mold in my attic. All these things that can't be seen with the naked eye. Another thing that I think especially is important right now is, you might have dad that's we used to be a builder. I'm guilty. I'm in my 40s and I still don't buy a house without my dad looking at it. Right. So I get that. But they can't walk up on the roof right now. And James may not be able to either, but he can absolutely go into that attic and he knows exactly what he's looking for because he's so specialized in it. So what do you say to the buyer or to the agent who says, I'm just going to not do inspections?
Well, obviously, I would definitely recommend that they would. And if they were trying to beat an offer by waiving inspections, which is quite possible nowadays with the way the market is, there's other options that are available. We can go with pre-inspections to the point that, hey, let me get in there for an hour. Let me check the big safety issues for you. Even though it's a, still there's a charge, but it's not the whole cost of a full inspection. I can get in there with an hour of pre-inspection, check the furnace for safety issues, look in the basement and do moisture probes for moisture concerns. Look in the attic, make sure there's no mold or any, say, vermiculite, which may contain asbestos, and point out any major concern. So, there's other options that are available if you can't do a full inspection, but having someone trained that knows what they're looking at to go through, and even if it's a short period of time, you can see a lot. And I know there's a lot of contractors out there that, like you were saying, your dad or your friends or your family walk through it, but it's just like any other field. Unless you're doing it day in and day out, you don't pick up on these items as fast because, I can look at a wall and I see one thing, and then my buyer might be looking at it and see something completely different, but that all translates to experience and how it can affect you and your family. So experienced eye is definitely something that you want to do. I'm always open for phone calls. Even if you're on a walkthrough looking to see if you like the house, take a picture of it, send it over to me at overandunderwood.com, and I'd tell you what I could see the best off of that. But definitely getting a home inspection is the only way to go in my mind, because there's some things there that, hey, that's your family. That's your life. And I know if I'm looking at it with my family, my daughters, I know how I feel, and that's how I treat it with my clients.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I, when I brought up the contractor thing, like a lot of people think that, and that's great. And like I said, I still don't buy homes without my dad, but I absolutely will have the inspection done by you. And the main reason why is because your average Joe, like what you've invested into your business is you have the best of the best tools, right? So yeah, you can go to Walmart, you can get a radon test, but it's not going to be near as accurate as the one that James has. You may have a carbon monoxide detector in your basement. It's not going, I mean, literally his goes on to the furnace. Like he can tell you like right there, like at the level. He had like a little prong thing. I'm talking about when I was, new and working with him. I was like, what is that? He was like, this is my moisture detector. If I have any indication that there might be moisture somewhere, he has found moisture in areas of homes I would never have even known, or anyone without the trained eye would have known. Brand new carpet laid, no water stains anywhere. He sees something on the outside of the foundation, can tell by what he's looking at, just by having that trained eye, immediately knows where he needs to see if there's water, and boom, finds it. I mean, it's crazy. So when you have somebody with the trained eye like James, fresh paint, new carpet, they don't get fooled. And that's like the biggest thing about why you need an inspector.
Well, the equipment that we have, we're not talking, like you said, a Walmart or, just something quick. You go by a Myers to check for moisture, from thermal cameras for thousands of dollars, for the equipment, from the CO check testers that we use, moisture meters, you name it. There's so many things that we carry with us every inspection, and just our radon monitors are $1,000 a piece that we use, and they're calibrated every year. So yes, you can do simple tests, but once again, not everybody can afford the equipment that we carry, or have the eye to see and recognize something, even though it may not be completely present. But we even know we may not see it in that particular home if we've gone through 10 or 15, 100 homes, and out of those homes with the same design, you'll know that there's potentially a problem in that location. So your experience is, if you go into the certain style of home, well, hey, let's look right here in the garage where the home and the garage, the attic meet in that location. Or, looking at the siding, where to look for issues that are going to come down the line. So there's a lot to be seen, and there's a lot to be learned from a home inspection, not only by the point of what you're going to take away of what needs to be fixed or not, but through, 2.5 hours of conversation, you're going to pick up a lot of information that's available on your home, whether it's gutters, drainage, learning if your faucets are frost free, the type of systems that are in your home. And not only is it presented in a format that you can look back and read, it's actually something that is discussed. So if first-time home buyers, that's a big process. I spend a lot of time with first-time home buyers and just discussing, hey, these are a lot of simple things, that can help them out because they don't know. But also the biggest part of that is to make sure that our safety functions and there's no concerns from a handrail, like you were saying, radon, CO, mold. Those are things that are a higher level, but they all encompass that home. And those are information that I think is beneficial to anybody who owns a home or buying.
I totally agree. And here's I know that with COVID restrictions right now, it's a little bit more difficult, but we can still have 2 households in an indoor location. And I highly recommend that buyers walk through with James during the inspection. The main reason why is he's so thorough. When you look at an inspection report, everything can look scary because nothing is, everything's just on paper. And I joke with James because his job is to go in and tell my buyers everything that's wrong about the house. So my buyers walk in, they love it, they're in love with it. And then James walks in, tells them everything that's wrong with it, creates a huge mess for me, and then I get to figure it out. I'm actually kidding when I say that, But that is how it would appear if a buyer did not walk through with James at the home inspection. James is somebody who will walk you through the house. He will point out everything. He doesn't miss a darn thing. But he will talk you through on whether or not that's a fix, that's a big deal, whether or not that's a high ticket item, whether or not that's a safety issue, and then we decide as the realtor and the buyer if there are any deal breakers. And honestly, you guys, that's different for every buyer. So James can go in and say, hey, listen, I see this roof probably has about a year left on it. Okay. One buyer is going to go, oh my gosh, that's like a $12,000 to $15,000 project, depending on the roof, whatever, that's a huge deal. That's a really big deal to me. Okay. Then another buyer goes, hey, cool. I'm going to get a case of beer, have 5 friends over, and we're putting on a roof this weekend. Like, you just don't know. But it's important to know what the issue is and then discuss with your realtor, what are the action steps based on what was found in the inspection.
Well, I agree, and you're absolutely correct there. And one of the points that we put together on our inspection reports is everything's itemized between functional and improvement, like cleaning gutters or scraping and painting something that's peeling, or a defective safety concern, whether it's a carbon monoxide issue due to a heat exchanger in a furnace, or a safety issue with missing handrails on the exterior where someone can slip and fall. And then there's another section of the report, which is a summary. So that will take out all the smaller little concerns that we find in a home and focus on the larger issues. But when it comes down to, like you were saying about roofs, I mean, I've gone into a home and see electrical panel that, it's not up to par. And the buyer will say, hey, my dad's a licensed electrician. He works for this company. It's not an issue to me. So as an inspector, it's my job, like you were saying, to lay out any deficiency that's in the home, whether it's an improvement to a defective or safety concern, and then present that to the buyer and to their agent. And then they'll make a educated decision based off of what works and what's going on in their life. So, when you're dealing with agents like Brooke, she's been doing this a long time. She's not going to let something, a safety issue just slip by. She's going to bring it up to you and make sure that you're aware of that so you can make an educated decision when it comes down to purchasing your home. But without that inspection, you would never be aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the tools that you have just are not what everyday people have. And I mean, it's just kind of like going to get a haircut, right? Like, you have to have a professional to do something. And so this is one of those areas where I'm adamant. It is so important. Now, I will say, James touched on the idea of a pre-inspection. Here's one of the really cool things, and in today's market is, James is, I'm almost afraid to edify you too much because it's like you're my secret almost. And I do share you, but I'm a little afraid that like your phone's gonna be ringing off the hook. So when I say this, like, I still need you to be available for me. But we're in a market where homes are getting listed. We're seeing a lot of homes getting listed on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. And then they're looking at offers like Monday night. You can, if James is available, or, say, hey, James, I love this home. And we've done this for a couple of our clients. I love this home. I'd really like to have a good shot at the bid, or, I'm in a multiple offer situation. Can you meet me there Friday, or can you meet me there Saturday? Just to do a walkthrough with me and check the majors so I can make an offer then, non-contingent, and be competitive, but still be confident that I know I'm getting into a good solid home.
Well, you're absolutely correct. And when it comes down to pre-inspections, or any inspection for that fact, the main 5 components of any home, you're going to have the roof, the foundation, the electrical, the plumbing, and the HVAC system, the heating and cooling system. That encompasses every home that you go to. There's always going to be.
I want you to repeat that. The roof. 5 things. The roof.
Foundation.
foundation,
electrical,
electrical,
plumbing,
okay?
and the HVAC system, the heating and cooling.
And then everything else is what I call the honey-do list.
Pretty much, so if you have a bad water heater that's leaking, well, we know that's something that needs to be addressed. Once again, it can go right back to, hey, I'm a plumber. I'm not worried about, a $1,000 water heater. I can get that taken care of. But at least that it is an issue. Or, hey, I've got a furnace, that, has an issue, or it's putting out carbon monoxide. The types and materials, what consists in your home, whether it's galvanized water lines, copper water lines, CPVC, waste lines from cast to copper to lead, what type of water supply. And once again, this is something that's simple for me as an inspector to look at your water supply and say, hey, yep, you've got copper coming in from the city, you're good to go. Or, hey, this is a lead water line that's on an older home coming through. Now, there are steps that are being taken in Grand Rapids to update those lines. However, if you weren't aware of that, that is something that would be good information, either get a water filter, osmosis system, or even trying to get that updated to something that is newer and newer materials that's not going to cause any issues. So there's a lot there that, you wouldn't even think about that, is always on my mind as an inspector.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask you this. Are you a code inspector?
I am not a code inspector.
Okay, and talk to me about the difference.
Well, the difference is, it's just, let's say there's a firewall in a new home. In between the garage and the living quarters of the house, there should be a 5/8 thick dry wall that has to be taped and mudded. Also, the entrance door from the garage to the home would be a metal door. Well, if based off of the age, that's not always a requirement. So that changes. But if you go into a new home, that's something that may be code. Or, if you have the dryer line, your dryer line's supposed to only extend a certain length to vent properly per code. And I can look at it and I know it, but also at the same time, I'm not there to quote it, because you can go into a home that's been built 50 years ago and you cannot bring that house up to code easily.
And it doesn't mean it's not safe.
Not at all.
You're there to look for the safety issues. You're not a code inspector.
100%. I want to make sure
there's a difference. And a lot of people say, what do I have to do to get this house to code? Well, you're gonna
that's a loaded question.
Yeah. And why do you need to have it be at code if we know that it's going to be nice and safe for you? And that's what James does. So I brought that up just because there's a difference. If you're in the city and you plan on renting it out and you want to have it like, that's, whatever, that's a different topic. But a lot of people say, what's code? I'm like, codes are changing all the time. We want to make sure that it's safe. That's what we're concerned with. If anyone has used James, knows James, and you have something to say like about your experience with him, I would love to have you throw it in the comments. If you have any questions specific for James, I would love to have you throw it in the comments. I'm going to just look at my phone real quick while I am live with you just to see. And let me see if anyone has anything that they're sharing. All right, here we go. We've got, hey girl, hey. All right, let's see. You guys, if you have questions for James, this is the time that you want him. He is, we've got some good people on. This is awesome. So keep on tuning in. Share this with everyone you guys know. You guys, I'm telling you, have been in this industry a long time, and James is seriously like off the hook good. And with my clients too. So what advice do you give to somebody who's looking at new construction?
Number one, get a home inspection. That's across the board, all the way. Going into a home, whether it's, a custom built home or a spec home, there's always things that we come across. And a lot of people say, well, why do I have to do a home inspection on a brand new home? And I tell them that there's different things that I see. I went into a brand new home, and this is actually a parade of home, the parade homes, that's
Mhm.
all put on display going through. And I'm walking through. Actually, the builder was there. The buyer decided not to show up, but they took the advice to get that home inspected. I went through checking things out, and not one of the windows would open up. The builder came to me, and after I asked him and said, "What's going on?" I said, "Well, the windows aren't working." And he looked at me like I was insane and kind of got frustrated. So he went and started checking them, and not one of the windows were open. So he got on the phone with the contractor, and then just kind of let him do his business there. So he realized there was an issue and there was a defect in the window. So if they wouldn't have had an inspection, they would have moved into the house, got there, wanted to try and open the windows in springtime, and they wouldn't open. We all know when you're trying to purchase something, people are quick to get issues resolved. After it's done, well, now you're on a waiting list. And who wants to be living in a brand new home where they can't open the windows and might have to wait several months or several weeks or even a week to get it done? I've seen issues where air conditioners weren't hooked up correctly and the contractor just never hooked it up or finished the job. So that's something else they would have to wait on. I've gone into a brand new house, and in the basement, they would have the egress window, and you would have the well around the window. And then usually you would have a cover and make sure it's draining correctly. I walked into this brand new house, and looking through the basement window, it had 3 feet of water in that well, and it was seeping into the brand new house, into the carpet. So,
Wow.
so there's things from siding not being installed correctly to moisture issues to, you name it, it's possible. So if you're buying or paying and making one of the biggest investments of your life, for most people, spending a couple $100,000 on a home, well, a couple $100 to go through to make sure that it's okay, for some of these issues, it's well worth it in my mind, because it's going to be a headache you're not going to have to deal with later.
Yeah, I totally agree. So when we get in under contract, our typical purchase agreement says that we have 10 days to get through an inspection contingency. In a seller's market, we're seeing that shortened if they're not waiving them. My clients don't waive them, by the way, because that's not, and if they do, it's very, very highly discouraged. But James has done, and I'm going to swing back to that, gone into the home before offers were due with my buyers and checked all the majors so that they could be confident in their offer. And then we have waived inspections based off James's first initial review of the home. So 10 days, a lot of times they are shortening those. Sometimes it's 3 days, sometimes it's 5 days. For the seller to know that, yes, in fact, this deal is going to go through based off inspections. It's actually one of, if not the biggest reason why a deal that goes under contract would fall apart, is because of inspections. There's a reason for that, you guys. If that's not eye-opening right there. The buyer loves the house. The inspector comes in. James is not there to break deals. In fact, I'm not there to break deals. We want to make sure that things can go through. But our first priority is the buyer's safety and making sure that when they get to the closing table, they're confident in the purchase that they're making, and that I don't get a phone call 2 weeks later saying, oh my gosh, I have to put $5,000 into this house that I just paid over asking price for. So when a buyer does an inspection with you, how quickly can they expect to get a report from you? So I know the answer to this. So the agent can make their, discuss it with the buyer.
Well, the speed in over 4,000 homes in the past year or 8 years that I've inspected, I've always given that report to my buyer that same day. I know it says within 24 hours, but I'm the type of guy, I'm in there, I'm going to get it done, and I'm not going to sleep till it's over. So it's not uncommon for me to come home from working all day, say hello to the family, tell the kids hello, and then go down to the office and get these jobs done, because I don't want to push it off, especially when you've got other decisions that have to be made. And sometimes with this market, that extra couple of hours or day may make a big difference. So, coming into that, you'll have that report the same day. Matter of fact, if you're at the inspection with me, before you even leave the inspection, I'll take you through the report and show you and explain everything that's in that report. And I will finalize it later so you can go home, the sellers can get back in their house, and we can move on. Mm-hmm. But safety, integrity, and and protecting your investment are the biggest things there with the home. And when it comes down to your 3-day, 5-day, 10-day inspections, I've gone from Saturday mornings at 7 o'clock in the morning to get there before showings were going on. I've done it later in the evenings to try and accommodate. Put it this way, if a buyer calls me, Brooke calls me and said, James, hey, I know we're in a pinch, but we really need to try and get this done. I will do everything in my power to make sure that that's done for you guys, to make sure that you're covered and your family's safe.
Yeah. And a lot of times, especially with COVID, I do try and attend. I usually don't attend the whole thing, but at least to introduce. And James will usually get there early and see. So I actually know that he's going to get there early. So I'll usually attempt to get there at the beginning, because I know my first question is any deal breakers? Because he's already going to know by the time I get there at the time of the inspection, he's already had looked at the foundation, had looked at the roof, taken a quick peek at things to make sure that everything looks solid from his first glance, and then he digs in. But I want to get there after his first initial glances. And if I can't, and he sees a major issue, he's going to call me. He's like, Brooke, we have a major foundation issue here. Do you want me to continue with this inspection? Because I know that that's a big deal. And I mean, it's happened. So we just don't know sometimes. And so, but that's what I love. So James is always previewing the home first. And then by the time either I get there to introduce him to the client, or the client gets there, whatever. The other thing too is that if he does find something through the inspections, like you are so good about this. I know that when that radon test is going to get picked up, I'm going to get a phone call from you. Whether it's good or bad, whether it's high or low. By the way, guys, 0.4 is considered to be high. Every house has radon gas in it. It's just whatever the level is that is considered to be unsafe. If it's above the safety, I'm getting a phone call.
Can I address something on the radon side?
Yeah.
One of the things that I hear most when it comes down to radon testing is, well, my house is brand new, I don't have an issue with that. Didn't they resolve that and fix that or put something in when they built the house? No. Or, this area is not known for it. Why would I have to be concerned with that? None of the other houses next to me have it. Why do I have it? And there's so many different facts and things that influence the levels that you have in your home. And without testing, you don't know. And just because your house is brand new, or if it's 100 years old, the possibility of having that elevated gas is there. And I could tell you 99.9% of the homes that I check have some type of level of radon. Put it this way, I think I had one time that came up that it was 0, and come to find out that that was a faulty unit. So, that everybody has it usually 4, 5, 6, and that's good. You get elevated between 2.0 or, up to 4.0, because the elevated line is 4.0 on the Picayune scale. So anything above that is required. And it's a simple repair, but if you didn't know that it was existing in your home, you would never have it fixed. And I did a home in Lowell, probably about 2 months ago, and the sellers were moving on. They had a camper and they're retired, and his wife just got over cancer. So I set the monitor up in their house, and come to find out, they had levels that were at 7 or 8. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if they're related at all, but and I don't know what their response was, but I was just so glad that they had it tested for the new buyers that were coming in.
Yeah.
So, you never know.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I want to say what James just said, because anytime, here's the thing, guys, anything in a home can be taken care of. Like none of what we're talking about has to be a reason not to purchase a home. Like like radon can be mitigated, and it's not a huge, I mean, it's not a terrible like breaking cost. I think the last mitigation system I had was $800. And it's guaranteed, right, to keep those levels safe for you for life. So I mean, anything, we just want to be aware of it because we need to know what you're walking into. We want to be able to make an educated decision on one of the biggest purchases, if not the biggest purchase that you make in a lifetime, without having surprises. So yeah, like, and that's just radon is the gas you can't see or taste or smell or touch. You don't know it's there unless it's being tested. So yeah, good point. The other thing too is, let's say we have people that are like, oh, well, I had my radon. I moved in my house 10 years ago. My radon levels are good. Can those change? How often should we have
100%.
those checked?
Well, every 2 years, you should have your radon levels checked. Radon comes from two elements in the ground, radium and uranium. As those elements break down, the gas they give off is radioactive and it's called radon. Due to barometric pressure, temperature, weather, all those different things will influence the test. So, say if you bought your house 10 years ago and your levels came and it was not mitigated because it was only, say, 3.5. Well, when was it tested? What time of year was it tested? And has those levels changed? 100%, it's quite possible. Matter of fact, on any mitigation system that you see in the basement, there's actually a sticker on it that says the level should be checked every 2 years. And one thing about having a qualified inspector check your radon levels, we're using a continuous radon monitor, which actually is electronic system that runs for 48 hours. It takes the reading every hour and then gives you the average after the 48. That is going to be as precise as you can get with the equipment that we have on the market that we're using. You can go buy charcoal kits from Lowe's or Home Depot, and they're going to get you in a ballpark area. But who wants to be in a ballpark area when you're dealing with something that can affect your family? And that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. I'm going to check my comments here and make sure and see if anyone has any questions. Oh, but except for that puts you, so I don't want to do. Okay, so this is what we're going to say. We've got he's great. I met James at an open house about a year ago. What a great, very knowledgeable guy. I bought a house and did not have a home inspection. After the closing, I found out the water lines were crossed. The builder corrected it, but we were delayed on moving in. I wish I had gotten James. James is amazing. So thankful to have utilized his services during the purchase of our home. Been knowing James for a long time. Last time he was at my house, I asked him, why do I have cracks on my cement patio? He said, because you don't have gutters and the soil under your patio is eroding away. I installed gutters 2 weeks later and he saved the day.
Wonderful.
Guys, good stuff.
And to say this real quick, home inspection is not limited to people that are just purchasing a home. It's not uncommon for me to have somebody say, hey, James, I've been living here for 5 years. It's a good idea. Why don't you go through it and just give me a little tune up on what's going on with the house? And I can give them a lot of pointers, like you were saying, from adding gutters to prevent erosion and settling in pads, to finding any potential harmful issue or major concern that could affect the home or your family.
I will tell you this, you guys. So like not every home needs gutters or has them, because it obviously depends on the roof line. But it was years ago, James, and I don't even know if I ever told you this. I actually listed a house that my buyers had bought from me. And a few years later, I listed it. And I had to call the builder about a question when I was listing the house. And he said, oh my God, you're that agent that made me put gutters on that house that I didn't even need. And I was like, well, my inspector thought differently and you wanted to sell it, so we negotiated it. But like, he remembered me. He's like, you were that agent that did the inspection on my new build and made me put gutters on. And I was like, well, you sold the house, so, and my buyers were happy. Had to happen. So, but without James, I wouldn't have known that, right? So I'm going to close this because I think that we've got so many good nuggets that I want to just ask everybody, if you have questions, to ask them. I know that this has been put on over on Underwood's page too, so they'll be monitoring it. And James, just, if there's questions that they want to ask, will you just kind of pay attention to it for a little bit and make sure? Okay. Yeah. And then top 3 reasons why in a seller's market, a buyer should never waive their inspection contingency.
Never waive it. Number 1, safety issues of what we could find that could be detrimental to the home or to your family. The second reason is you're never going to have the amount of information that you're going to have on your home until someone goes through and explains it to you. And then the third, I think you can walk away and make a strong offer and feeling confident on the home without having any issues or any feelings that, hey, am I doing the right thing? Is this a solid home? Because when I'm done with the inspection, I give a run through and I make sure that everyone's aware of what's going on. And usually I'll tell them, there's beautiful home, great, no issues, or hey, there's a couple issues that need to be addressed. But at the end of the day, anything can be repaired and you can move on.
Anything can be repaired. You just have to know that it needs to be repaired.
That's it.
If you don't know, you can't take care of it. And so that's what James is there to do, is to just give you the knowledge that you need of the home that you're purchasing. And you can make a really good, educated decision based on that. It doesn't always need to be after you're under contract. Keep that in mind. It is an out-of-pocket cost for you, and it is more time for you. But if this is the home that you want and you're in multiple offers, you can still do it. So James, how much lead time do you normally need before you can get in for an inspection?
Usually a couple of days. I've got great agents like yourself, working with, but also as an inspector, I want to be there and be available as best I can for my clients and for your clients that are coming through. So usually 3 to 5 days, you call me, I'll find a way to get in there and make sure your home is inspected. Okay,
good. So guys, typically, if you're working with an agent, such as like me, if you're working with me, I have my referral partners that I use because I've been in this business long enough to know like who runs their business the same way that I do, who puts our clients at the forefront, right? If I just wanted the quick dollar, I would be able to just say, oh, waive the inspection, let's just go, forget it, let's get you the house, right? That's not putting your best interest at play. That's putting mine for sale. That's not okay. I want to make sure that you guys have that. So your agents usually will have referral partners. A lot of them don't though. So if you do need a home inspector, I really encourage you to consider James. Even if you're, and here's another thing, if you're just thinking about listing your home, James is an excellent resource for a pre-inspection. He can take care, he can make you aware of things that could be a red flag when you do decide to list, and give you the time to get those things taken care of. So during that inspection contingency of the sale, as a seller, you don't have the anxiety that something might fall through because you didn't know about it. The other thing I want to bring up is what James said right there. If you've lived in your home for over 5 years and you just want to know, is my family still safe? James is a person to call. Use him as a resource. He's got the information, he's got the tools, he's got the eyes, he's got the knowledge. He can come in, he can look at your home, and he can just help you give it a tune-up. So James,
Yes.
How do they get a hold of you?
Well, they can call me at 616-406-4202, which is my phone number. You can Google Over in Underwood. You can go to overinunderwood.com. Type in James Underwood Home Inspector. I'm also on Angie's List. I'm also on Home Advisor. If you just type in James Underwood, Grand Rapids, you're going to have a list of different ways to get in touch with me. So,
Stephanie, I'm talking to his wife right now. Stephanie, if you're watching this right now, which I know you are, will you put in the comments how to get a hold of him? Please. Because I know people are going to want to.
Well, they can. And like I said, you can email me at james@overinunderwood.com if you just have some questions, that I will respond back with. There's plenty of ways, and I will always get back with you on any questions that you have. Like I was telling you in the very beginning, even if you're walking through a house for the first time and you see something that just doesn't look right, or you're just questioning what it is, take a picture of it, text me and say, James, what is this? And I'll do my best to figure it out and tell you. I might ask a follow-up question or two, but we'll get it worked out one way or the other.
I'll tell you, I've done that a lot, and he usually just comes back with the answer. He's being a little humble right now. He usually knows. You're being humble. Yes, I think maybe once or twice you've been like, I will find out for you, and you always do. But typically, oh, that's what this is. I'm like, okay.
If I don't know, I will find out. Yeah. I'll do the research. I've actually, I think you remember for this house, I forgot in Grand Rapids, and we went down, they had water coming into the basement and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And we were talking over the phone back and forth. And I was like, you know what? Enough. Just give me the address. I'm going to be out that way tomorrow. Let me just come by and take a look at it. Spend, no charge to you. I'll just spend 10 or 15 minutes. I just want to try and figure out what's happening. And we talked for a while. And, next thing I know, I think next month, I got a thing of cookies in the mail that was sent to me. Not everything I need, but, it was one of those things that I care. I'm out there protecting everybody that I can and their interest. And I understand what it's like to work hard for our money and to have a home and take pride in it. And if I can help you in any way, I will. And that's the important thing.
That is so funny that you brought that up, because as you were saying that, I was trying to think of the situation and I didn't remember who it was until you said that they sent you cookies. So yeah, I do know. That's hilarious. Yep. I love it. But that's just the kind of guy James is, guys. So I do not take who I refer lightly. I build my business off referral. And so if I don't have good referral partners, then that makes me look bad, right? So I do believe that I have the best of the best referral partners. And I really think that if you've gotten to the end of this Facebook Live, I'm hoping you've got some really good nuggets. If you do have follow-up questions, get in touch with me or James. Actually get with James, because I'll direct you to James anyway. But if you have questions, follow-up questions, you need anything, I actually am going to encourage you to put them in the Facebook comments, because your question is probably the same thing as someone else is thinking. So let's get that out there. And guys, James is your guy. Like, if you're thinking about selling, you need him for a pre-inspection. If you've been in your home and you want to tune up, you need to call James. If you are even thinking of foregoing the inspection contingency during a purchase, the answer is do not do that. And there is a solution to still be able to make your offer non-contingent on inspections with James and with me. So thank you, James. I appreciate you so much. And I think you've just added a lot of value to a lot of people.
No, thank you, Brooke. I appreciate working with you and your team. You've got a great team working with you, and I love the opportunity to discuss this. And I look forward to doing it again in the future.
Absolutely. I think that it's going to be a highly asked for thing. So you've added a lot of value. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Put your comments in the comments, or your questions too. So see you, James. Thanks.
See you. Thank you so much.